is inevitable. One must destroy in order to create.
Even if its most recent chapter, Far, Far Away, prioritizes style and vibes above substantive meaning, Ahsoka on Disney Plus maintains its forward momentum 1 week after a very memorable episode of any Star Wars TV program. But that's not always a negative thing. The episode of Far, Far Away, directed by Jennifer Getzinger, who has worked on Orange is the New Black and Jessica Jones, gives Ahsoka, Rosario Dawson, the week off to focus on Sabine Wren, Natasha Liu-Bordizzo, who has been held captive by the antagonists Baylan, Ray Stevenson, Shin Hati, Ivana Sakno, and Morgan Elsbeth, Diana Lee Inosanto, for the past 2 episodes. Sabine gave herself up to their custody as they traveled across the galaxy to a planet whose outer ring is a horrific graveyard for the Purrgil in a quest to locate Ezra Bridger, played by Eamon Estandi. The abrupt transition from these majestic flying whales to a vast area where their meatless bones are floating in space foreshadows the impending darkness that fans will soon get to know. They are met by Night Sisters, evil witches in red. Their I spared you a Wikipedia deep dive, and then they face Ahsoka's real enemy on the lonely Paradia, which regrettably is yet another place with grayscale sunsets and unappealing onyx rock formations. With his voice actor from the Star Wars Rebels series Lars Mikkelsen repeating the role to great success, Grand Admiral Thrawn, who has been a significant character to die-hard fans of the Star Wars expanded universe for decades, transitions from cartoons to flesh and bone live action. In one of the most significant character debuts in series history outside of animation, Mikkelsen boldly occupies the worn but polished boots of Thrawn with diabolical blue skin, bright red eyes, and lips pursed so tightly they're virtually glued together. When I quickly paused the episode to remove my late-night supper off my coffee table, I was actually horrified by the paused screen of his eyes peering back. He is so profoundly unsettling here. I had the impression that he would re-move on his own at any moment. Mikkelsen doesn't have much else in the script to make Thrawn feel like an authentically evil presence, at least not yet, despite being besieged by stormtroopers in gnarly ravaged armor that include one unforgettable subordinate, the gold-plated Captain Enoch, who has just inspired a ton of cosplayers weeks before Halloween. However, in terms of debuts, I'd be surprised if Lucasfilm executives haven't already discussed concepts for a standalone Thrawn for whenever the strikes stop. Everything else in Far, Far Away pales in contrast to Mikkelsen's performance because he is just so excellent. Even Sabine's development into a more aggressive co-protagonist in her shortened tour of Star Wars itself seems fabricated. Sabine doesn't so much explore as she runs into iconic Star Wars tropes, from quarrelsome animal companions to fending off thieving raiders, to striking friendships with weird little dudes in this case, crab-like nomads who feel descended from yesteryear's Ewoks, to a most heartfelt reunion. Nothing about it is especially bad or tedious. Even while these characters still feel more alien in live action than they would have in animation, crab guys are adorably charming, and ardent Rebels fans might tear up at Sabine's reunion with you-know-who. But when Ahsoka continues to express nostalgia for the history of its own series, uncertainty grows. Can Star Wars ever escape the ominous shadow cast by its own greatest successes? The subsequent trilogy suffered from the flaw that afflicted it without doubt. Could Ahsoka experience a similar end? Far, Far Away serves as an excellent example of Getzinger's utilitarian, yet unexceptionally unimaginative direction style. But the brightest aspects of it are seen through these eyes. Mikkelsen's Thrawn is a force to be feared. His army of zombie stormtroopers, appearing resurrected in their homemade restorations and remaining steadfastly loyal to a dead regime, strikes fear in the audience because of how unavoidably and regrettably real it is that outmoded evil can and will always have its adherents. Thus, the idea that Thrawn is the First Order's seed-bearer persists. Getzinger's equally and appropriately brutalist filmmaking manages to establish a potently brutal mood. Something is brewing, and there are some unsavory undertones. Here is Thrawn. We are now anticipating Ahsoka's imminent attack.